Hey my lovies, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about the topic today. Today we're going to be talking about astrology. So I create content for people to bridge the gap between the life that they've known and the life they desire. A lot of the content that I use, it's rooted in spirituality, and you can actually find it within yourself. I just basically use healing modalities like astrology or the 7 universal laws to actually bring that information out or help people connect the dots. So let's get started. So the topic today is astrology and how it relates to the 7 universal laws. So if you have not seen the video that I did previously about the 7 universal laws, go ahead and click the link. So I briefly talk about the 7 universal laws in that video. If you'd like more detail about the 7 universal laws and how you can actually use those laws, apply those to your life, and just kind of a breakdown, you can actually purchase the workbook that I created. The information is in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. All right, so let's jump right in. So what I'm going to be talking about today are the 7 classical planets. So of course, I'm not going to go into the whole etymology of the word planet, but the original word actually means wanderer. So when I talk about the 7 classical planets, I'm going to also include the sun and the moon, which we don't refer to as planets right now, but I'm going to be talking about the 7 celestial bodies that kind of travel around the skies. So let's jump right in. All right, so the first luminary that I'm going to talk about is the moon. The moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. I'm a Cancer, so let's give it up for the Cancers. All right. Anyways, all right, so the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. The moon represents emotions. It represents the mother, nurturer. It also represents instinct. It's associated with the law of mentalism. Remember, the law of mentalism states that everything that we see, that we do, everything that we perceive, it was once created in the mind first. This is associated with the moon because, again, the moon is about mother. Life begins with mother, right? It's kind of like when a woman gets pregnant for the first time and she instinctively knows how to care for a child. She instinctively knows how to nurture her child. Her body instinctively, it automatically prepares itself to grow a seed and birth a child. The moon also governs the brain. The law of mentalism governs our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind runs off of instinct. It's instinct based on what you feed your conscious mind. The second luminary that I'm going to talk about is Mercury. So Mercury is at home in the sign of Virgo and Gemini. It governs communication and how we analyze things and how we express ourselves. It reflects logic and rationality. In Greek mythology, which I don't even really like to acknowledge, but in Greek mythology, Mercury is actually the winged messenger of the gods. This aligns with the law of correspondence. Now, if we remember, the law of correspondence is basically the communication between the physical plane that we all exist and the spiritual plane, which our souls and our ancestor souls exist. And then the third luminary that I'm going to talk about is Venus. So Venus is at home in both Taurus and Libra. Venus represents attraction and reproduction. It also represents finances and material possessions. And it definitely also represents love. It is the energy of pleasure, and it definitely likes to sit back and just kind of receives everything that it wants. This aligns with the law of vibration, which says that energy attracts energy. So it's basically like whatever energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to receive, or the energy that you're going to attract. So again, Venus represents attraction, and it puts you in that receptive mode. So the law of vibration is also about attraction. And the fourth luminary that I'm going to talk about is the sun, which is definitely at home in the sign of Leo. So the sun represents the father, our soul. It's very authoritative. It's really how we deal with other people. The sun is the giver of life, and it represents like our conscious mind. The sun has the ability to fight all evils of your life, even disease. So the sun aligns with the law of polarity, which is the understanding that everything has 2 poles, like good and bad, and love and hate. It is the presence of 2 contrasting principles with the understanding that both of these principles are one and the same. So basically, love and hate is one and the same, but it's just on the opposite ends of that energy spectrum. It's kind of like the North and the South Pole. So it's a pole, but it's just on opposite ends of each other. So the law of polarity is awareness. It's basically knowing that there is an opposite of each of these emotions. All right. And then the fifth luminary or the fifth planet is Mars, which is at home in Aries and Scorpio. Mars is all about action. It's about confidence. Mars has the energy of I'm getting things done, right? It represents our drive, our ambition, and our energy. So Mars is associated with the law of rhythm, which basically says that no matter what, life is going to flow. Everything flows, everything has a pattern. Just as you're going to experience one emotion, you are going to experience the opposite of that emotion. So remember, the law of polarity is just basically understanding or being aware that there is an opposite of each emotion. The law of rhythm is saying that you are going to experience the opposite of each emotion. So the law of rhythm being associated with Mars gives you that energy and that drive to keep going through life. A saying that I really like is, if you're not growing, you're dying. So if you're stagnant, if you're stuck in the state of, sadness, and you do not see yourself climbing out of that sadness or moving on to the opposite end of that spectrum or that energy, you're not growing. Use that energy of Mars and take action. All right, so the sixth planet that I'm going to talk about is Jupiter, which is at home in Sagittarius and Pisces. Jupiter represents expansion, and it's known as the great teacher. It's associated with principles of growth, healing, prosperity, good fortune, and miracles. It's the thinking planet, and it guards our abstract mind. It also rules higher learning and education and exploration, so like travel, learning new things, exploring. Jupiter is associated with the law of cause and effect. So remember, the law of cause and effect basically says that for every effect, there is a cause. For everything that happened, there is a reason. So for every action in the universe, there is a reaction. This law is a great teacher, meaning when we understand why things happen for us, we allow room for expansion. We allow room for growth. Each new lesson in life gives us an opportunity for growth and expansion. So growth and expansion brings healing, prosperity, it brings good fortune, and it brings miracles. All right, the seventh luminary or the seventh planet is Saturn, which is at home in Aquarius and Capricorn. It's all about restrictions and learning things the hard way. Saturn is the planet of karma, discipline, and maturity. It definitely teaches us about boundaries and adding that structure to our life. So Saturn is associated with the law of gender, which states that everything has both masculine and feminine energy. This is one of the hardest laws for people to actually adapt, because people try to avoid becoming too masculine or too feminine, because they think that it's associated with our physical gender that we're born into, but it actually has nothing to do with our physical gender. It's only about the energies. So again, it only has to do with accepting both the masculine and feminine energies, which is logical and emotional energies, right? Being able to balance both of those energies within us gives us structure. It's a sign of maturity. Like when you're able to use your emotions, have empathy for people, but you're also able to logically think about situations and come up with solutions, then you have reached a level of maturity. This is when you can basically remove the karmic restrictions from your life. You're able to balance all of these emotions with logical thinking and set clear boundaries for healthy relationships. All right, so that was just a brief explanation of the 7 classical planets and how they relate to the 7 foundational universal laws, which I really love to talk about. I love talking about astrology. Just doing my own research, I came across, the 7 classical planets, and just reading about it, I was like, this relates to the 7 foundational universal laws that I've been talking about. We already know, based on the law of mentalism, that everything is connected, everything is as one, right? But it just breaks down, it just makes it so much more understandable that everything really is connected. And I really just love talking about this kind of stuff, because I like to use these as healing modalities so that we can all learn about ourselves, become better aware of, ourselves, our surroundings, our universe, because everything that the universe is made up of, we're actually made up of the same thing. So yeah, check back in with me next Friday. I'll have another video for you. If you have any suggestions on what I should talk about, leave it in the comments section. All right, love and light, motherfuckers.